Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Our Coaching Network Coaching Community Podcast. We are really fired up to be joined today by Kansas State Assistant Head Coach Van Malone. Coach, he's also in charge of the defensive pass game and coordinator and coaches the quarterbacks. You're a former NFL player. You're one of the really, really good dudes in all of college football. Most recently, we were joined by precocious young West Georgia offensive coordinator Dane Stevens. Coach Malone, we are super fired up to have you with us today. Thanks for taking the time.
Man, I tell you what, I'm more fired up than you guys are. And it's always great to be able to have the opportunity to get on and visit with people who are good people and who do great work in this area of promoting sports, college and otherwise. And so again, I'm as excited as I can be.
Well, that sort of leads me right into my first question. And you said it, you're fired up because you're passionate, I think, about sharing your knowledge and helping young people. Why has coaching, after an NFL career and your own playing career, why has coaching become your vehicle to give back and to help shape young people?
And for me, as a young person, I recognize how important it was to have coaches in my life. And when people do things, nice things for you, the first thing you should want to do, and generally we want to do, is repay them. And so early in my career, early in my existence as a player, I thought that, you know what, I need to do whatever I can to replay these coaches, right? To repay these coaches for what they've done for me. So over the years, I got a couple coaches who are who we still are connected, and they say, "Oh no, man, you've done it. You paid me back." But it changes, and it gets to be a lot of fun to find yourself pouring into young people because, and I've seen this happen so many times where a guy comes to you in one state, he knows it all, he has all the answers, right? And then you're able to see him fail, you're able to see him fall down, but then through direction and pouring into him, you see a shift in his life. And actually, that same thing happened in different stages of my life. It actually still happens at times. But to see a young man that you have an impact on who is now able to realize his potential, and there's no greater satisfaction for me than that.
You referenced it, and once again, he is Van Malone, assistant head coach at Kansas State, a veteran college football coach, a former NFL player. I am John Brice of FootballScoop here on the Our Coaching Network podcast. Do you remember some of those earliest coaches who impacted you? Are we talking Pee Wee and grass cutter ball? Did you start really gravitating towards maybe the coaching advice in middle school, or what was your journey like in that regard?
Man, to me, as I think about it, it was middle school. It started in middle school. It started early in my career, and actually, it even started before then. But the coaches in middle school, they really began to pour into me in such a way to make me realize that if you do the right things, if you take care of your business in school, then this thing that you like so much, this thing that you've done in little league since you were 8 years old, man, this thing can provide an opportunity for you to attend college. And so they started that thought process. And I had coaches in high school that poured into me in the same way. And when I had an opportunity to obtain a college scholarship, then those coaches in college, they poured in me just as well to say, if you do things the right way, man, you got an opportunity. You would have an opportunity to play in the NFL. And so for all of those things to materialize for me, after those coaches said they made that agreement that if I did the things the right way, if I listened to them, if I trusted in the process, that things would work out, and they did. And again, like we just talked about, man, I can't help but want to give that same thing back to a young man.
Your journey has been remarkable and very obviously full circle as we listen to you talk about, first being really impacted as a middle schooler and growing from there. You start in college at SMU, you go on to the NFL, then you come back and you start working as an assistant coach at the high school football level. Maybe how much does that speak to your love of the game and your humility to be around young people and want to help at whatever level possible for you?
Well, for me, as I was playing, and I decided that I wanted to coach. Once I was done playing, I decided that I wanted to coach. I kind of thought to myself that if a young man, and this was an error in this thinking, but I thought that if a young man got to college, he was already developed. That if you wanted to impact him the most, that you should impact him early in his life. And so I went down that road to impact at the what I would call the grassroots level of coaching. And it was a great experience for me. And actually, as a coach, what I learned is that players, former players, can sometimes be the worst coaches because what I thought is that I did it, so it'll be really easy to get these guys to do it, you know. But there's a lot of teaching, especially on that level, a lot of teaching that is involved. That's where you teach the fundamentals. And so for me as a former player who just wants to come in and say, just do it, you have number 81, just do it. Well, that was a great learning experience for me because I had to learn how to teach. When you have elite level athletes, you tell those elite level athletes, you guard number 81 and number 81 is guarded. Well, it's not that way in high school. And so for me, having an opportunity to learn how to teach, how to break the skills down to the very last compound and give them to athletes who had no clue was a great growth process for me. I'm so grateful for the opportunities that I had to coach in college. And it a short time, but again, I learned quite a bit from the coaches across the board that I worked with at high school, on the high school level.
And as we talk about your journey and paying it back or paying it forward, if you will, it's not hollow lip service with you. You put actions behind your words. You're part of a leadership podcast. I know that you are involved with the AFC Board of Directors coming up, and then you've been very involved with the Maxwell Award for their cancer drive. Let's start first and foremost right there with the work on the cancer drive. That's a subject near and dear to my heart because I lost my father to pancreatic cancer almost 2 years ago to the day. How did you get involved in that? Why is that particular endeavor important for you, Coach?
Well, I kind of got involved. Andy Talley, who started the Andy Talley Foundation, the Bone Marrow Foundation. Andy would come and speak to me every year at the convention, and he would ask me if I would allow him to speak to my Minority Forum coaches group. And this group, I don't know, you have 600-700 coaches in the room, and I would give Andy 15 minutes to talk to this group about starting a bone marrow drive, database drive on their campus. And eventually it evolved this discussion that Andy would have with that group. It evolved into the Be the Match program, and now it's a program called NMDP, and it's the National Marrow Donor Program that I'm on the Coaches Council for. Well, the Maxwell Award that you speak of, Andy is talking to these groups year after year, year after year. And one year it hit me that, man, this guy, he's talking to me. He's talking to me about doing this drive at Kansas State. And all these years, I'm thinking he's talking to these people, but no, he's talking to me. So we did a drive at Kansas State, and we happened to, it's not like you work to find the matches, right? The chances of you finding the matches are very rare. And so we had an opportunity to find matches over the course of our time doing the drive, find matches, have donors, and save lives. It's just that simple. If you get a match and that person decides to be a donor, you saved a life. We had a player on our team, his dad was a living example of a person deciding to be a donor. And so for our team, we could touch Nick's dad. right? We could touch him, we could feel him, and we could see how important it was for us to get people to be a part of this drive, to get people to be a part of this database, just to take the chance to see if they would be a donor. And so that's what we do each year here at K-State. And we encourage others across the country on campuses to do the same thing. And so that's been a very cool experience for me. I've never had anyone in my immediate or extended family stricken with cancer, but I know it's the right thing to do. And I know the work that we're doing, that our team does, it saves lives because we've witnessed it. And so, there's no amount of money, no amount of games that you can win that can take the place of being able to do that.
And how have you seen it grow through the years? And maybe you reference it being in rooms full of coaches, and you guys are fierce competitors in the season and on the weekends. But it's been neat for me to see coaches rally around various programs like this one. And so I wonder how you've seen the coaching community come together. I know when he was at Kansas as an analyst, now he's out west. Oscar Rodriguez was very involved because he'd been stricken with cancer. Just how have you seen coaches rally around not just this project, but projects like this?
Well, what you said it earlier when we talk about paying it forward, right? That's what you do as a coach. You as a coach, you're pouring into someone else so that they can pour into the next person. And so anytime I just believe coaches across the board, anytime they're given the opportunity to make a difference in someone's life, and there's no difference more than saving a life, right? You can't make any more difference than that. And so when you present that with coaches or to coaches, and they present that to their teams, then you get the remarkable outcomes that we've had. And again, there's a lot of people that have no clue. And so for us to be able to educate them, for us to be able to let them see how simple it is to be able to change, to be able to save a life. Most people, most young people on college campuses, most student athletes, they jump at the opportunity to impact in that way.
That's awesome. And unfortunately, we saw the tragedy of cancer earlier this week or over the weekend with Maryland offensive line coach Damian Rubaleski. His son passed away after an extensive battle with cancer. So heartily commend the work that you all are doing. And again, that just reflects who you are individually, but who a lot of the coaches are and why they're doing it. As we shift to more of your coaching journey and on the field, you've been, I guess this is entering year number 6 at Kansas State, and you've made it through a coaching transition there. You've been a part of some phenomenal resurgence at Kansas State in recent years. What has made Kansas State such a great fit for you and something of a home right now in your coaching career?
Well, the thing, as a coach, and listen, I have a lot of stickers on my bag, I like to say, but it's about the people. And we say that to recruits all the time. We talk about the fact that the building, there's some stadiums out there, oh man, hundreds of thousands of people, but it's not about the facilities. It's about the people. For me at Kansas State, the community, the fan base, the leadership of President Linton, the leadership of Gene Taylor, our athletic director, Coach Kleiman, our head coach, they've given me many opportunities to grow as a coach, to grow in my role as the assistant head coach. I've gotten some incredible opportunities to be in environments to help me grow. And so that's been very important to me. The staff that we have is a staff that's committed. And I know, some of this stuff may sound cliche, but I'm a cliche bomb at times. You know what I mean? Because I really believe in people doing things the right way. I really believe in pouring into young people. I believe in helping young coaches develop. And that's what happens at Kansas State. And that's, again, it has come. Gene Taylor and I were together at North Dakota State. And back in those days, Gene's leadership was present in my life as a young coach, a first-time college coach. And so the things that I saw him do there as an athletic director in that incredibly successful program, I see him doing the same things at Kansas State, and I see all of our sports teams experience success, experience situations where the coaches are sustained. And so at this moment, man, I could, and I know coaches, there's always transition, but I couldn't be more happy to be right where I am today. And I think that's important, to be where your feet are. It allows you to be as happy as you can be.
I was going to segue into that. I know you're a guy planted exactly where your feet are. You're getting ready for vacation, and you're sneaking an iPad along to watch cut-ups of a season that opens with UT Martin and Jason Simpson's great FCS program. You got Arizona in there early on. You've got a really fine Tulane program with a new first-year coach John Summerall. But I've got to ask, without getting you to skip from the present, because of your coaching journey, because of your path, because you're now assistant head coach and you continue to challenge yourself to grow, how ready do you feel to become a head coach, whether it's in the next year or the next 5 years? Just how are you constantly growing yourself and preparing yourself for that opportunity that I certainly think that should be coming your way and will be coming your way?
Well, I'm a faith driven man, and I believe that when I'm ready for that, right? Because I know I would say that I'm ready 10 years ago, right? But I continually see situations that I say, you know what, man, I got to be better at that one. And so that's what I do. That's how I work to prepare myself. I think for me, I've been incredibly blessed, incredibly fortunate because Coach Kleiman gives me those opportunities to speak to donors, opportunities to speak to the team, opportunities to sit in on those decision-making meetings, opportunities to have input on the direction of the team with him, opportunities to hire staff. And so those are the things, I think those are the day-to-day things that if you are going to be in a position of leadership, you're going to be a head coach, you have to have those experiences. Again, I always say that, a person who aspires to do something, to be a head coach, yeah, you should have the confidence to say, I'm ready right now. But I think I'm going to get that opportunity. And when I get that opportunity, I'm going to make a mistake, right? I might make two. But what I've learned is that the leader, he has to be vulnerable, right? He has to understand that he will make mistakes. He has to surround him with the proper support people, the proper help and resources, so that if there is a mistake, that number one, he can grow from it, but you don't make that same mistake. When I am with Coach Kleiman, he talks about things that, man, maybe I needed to do better this. When I was a first-year head coach, I struggled with this thing or that thing. And so I'm having an opportunity, not just from him, honestly, but from other head coaches that I have a relationship with, giving me their ear, giving me their playbook in terms of things that they've done to be successful. And so I just consider myself greatly blessed to be put in the growth situations. But I also understand that every day is a day that you grow. Every day you're learning. And somebody is going to give me that opportunity, and it'll be the right fit for me at that moment.
He is Van Malone, assistant head coach at Kansas State, also the defensive pass game coordinator and cornerbacks coach. I am John Brice of FootballScoop.com here on the Our Coaching Network podcast. Coach, you just said two things that really resonated with me. One of them is a model I try to adopt. One of them might be one of the five most interesting comments I've heard on this podcast in the year plus that I've been working with Pat and the guys doing it. I'll start with the first one. You talked about growing and evolving every day and trying to get better and better. And certainly as a journalist, I hope to be a better journalist next week than I am today. And then the week after that, I better be better than I am next week. How do you relay that message to your players? How do you get them to see that? And maybe how much do they see that in you? And maybe that helps deliver the message.
Well, one thing I had you can't call your coaches old. I had a seasoned coach Because one of these days, somebody gonna actually, my kids call me today. My own kids at home, they call me an old geezer. Uh,
Oh,
but but no, I had a coach say this to me once, and I grabbed it and I never let it go. He said, "You're either green and growing, or you're ripe and you're rotting." And it's so important to me. And I say it to my players. I say it all the time that you never arrive. You never arrive. And when you arrive at one point, there's another point, right? There's another point to reach. And in this world that we live, there's not any place that I can't think of a place where it's over, right? Where your growth is over, where you're done good enough. Where and when you win 2 games, don't you want to win 3? And when you win a championship, don't you want to win another? When you win a national championship, don't you want to win another? Right? When you get 6 interceptions, what if you got 7? Right? There's no place. Now, I don't want to say that you can't be satisfied, content with your performance. That's but what you have to do is when you push the reset button, it's 0, and you have to go and eclipse the record that you had the time before. There's continual striving to be better. Well, I think that you as a journalist, myself as a coach, we have to go back and look at our performances and evaluate them the right way. Again, being critical, right? And put yourself in a situation, which I say it to my players all the time. I say, watch your video as if you don't know you. Watch your video as if you're an NFL scout and you're looking for the best in America, excuse me, the best in the world. Now, how would you rate that guy? I know, see, when you know you and you have a little warm and fuzzy feeling about you, right? When you watch yourself, it's almost a little fascination with yourself, right? Because it's you. But when you evaluate yourself the way others would evaluate you, then again, to me, that's how I talk to my players, and that's how I push myself. And again, I want us to be happy, right? I want us to find happiness. I have bowl rings in a case, and I make a point to wear those bowl rings every now and again because we work hard all season to win a championship, to make it to a bowl game. You win the bowl game and you never wear that ring again. There's something sick and demented about that. You know what I mean? You need to celebrate, but don't allow the celebration to overtake the work because there's always work to be done, right? But you should celebrate. You should take a moment to breathe in the air that you created, right? You created this by your success, right? So you have to take a moment to celebrate.
You continue to really fascinate me with some of your teachings there. My grandfather, who served in the Navy in World War II, always talked to me about having a thirst for knowledge. I have never heard another coach telling his players to review their tape, review their film, but pretend they don't know that they're watching themselves. I think that's fascinating. The other thing you said just moments ago, and he is Van Malone, assistant head coach at Kansas State. I'm John Brice of FootballScoop.com. You said you embrace the opportunity to meet with donors, to meet with boosters, and get in those settings and form those relationships, and honestly just learn how to deal with those settings. I don't know that I've ever heard another assistant coach, and certainly no head coaches, who like to lean into those booster meetings or donor meetings very often. What prompted you to have that mindset? And once again, how much does having that experience just further go to bolster your readiness to become a head coach?
Well, I've coached at some pretty amazing places when it comes to fan support, and like if I would compare that to coaching at places where there was no the fans didn't care, where they didn't get into it, right? That would be again one of those poor existences. And so to me, I think the donors, the fans, they're a big part of your ability to be successful, especially in this world we're living in today, this landscape that we're living in. But I think it's important to lean in because we're what we used to say at SMU is that we're all in this together, right? And I think that I'm a football coach, right? I'm in charge and we're in charge of what happens on the football field. But when it comes to the support, when it comes to your fan base being a part, right? They get a vote, right? They get a vote. And I've always been of the mindset that they get a vote. When we recruit players, right? We recruit the player. Oh man, we send them all this correspondence and we talk to them. But the parents are a part of it. His high school coach is a part of it. They get a vote. And so to me, it's so important that you reach out to all of the people, all of the players in the game, because again, they all are. Some may be more important than others, but they all have a stake in the game.
We are coming to a close here very shortly on this latest edition of our Coaching Network podcast. Again, he is Van Malone, Kansas State assistant head coach, defensive pass game coordinator. I'm John Brice of FootballScoop.com. A couple of ones here. One's super easy. The other one is going to be big picture. We'll start with the easy one. You're a Houston, Texas native. Your first college job was in the state of North Dakota. What was that climate shock like for you? What do you remember maybe about your coldest day or days in North Dakota? And I ask because I'm an East Tennessee native and live now in South Bend. And my first winter here in South Bend, we had over 100 inches of snow that winter. So I know a little bit about climate shock, but not quite like going from Houston to North Dakota.
Yeah, I don't even know if you called it shock, what I went through at that moment. Craig Bowl, who was at that time the head coach at North Dakota State, just got the job at North Dakota State. Craig called me and he offered me a job. And for some reason, he didn't want to tell me where he was offering me this job. But I got it out of him. And I said, so now where are we going? This job that I'm about to accept? He said it really fast. He said, North Dakota State. And I said, wait a minute. He said, North Dakota State. Is that in the United States? And so, we went, my family and I went there. And man, I can't tell you, I work with guys today who Coach Kleiman and other guys on staff who were at North Dakota State. And there's something really special about that place, something special about the fan base. I could say the same thing here at Kansas State, but the winners, right? The winners were a little bit different for this guy from Houston, Texas, right? I don't think they had enough chat. Like I would go out to practice and the players could not understand how is this guy going to coach us today? Because he is wrapped up. I can't think of they mittens. I would go out with mittens, right? I would go out with mittens and jackets and 4 pairs of pants, right? And so early on, I was really a wimp, right? I was really a wimp. So then when I would get to climates like here at Kansas State, and I was at Western Michigan, Oklahoma State, right? A little warmer climates, still maybe cold to some, but when you've been through a North Dakota winter, the coldest day I believe that we had there, and I got to be honest, I was not there. I was in Florida for the AFCA convention, but my family let me know that it was 45 degrees below zero when wind chill. And I'm so fortunate that I missed out on that day. So I always put that on my record though, that I was there for minus 45-degree winter day.
You absorbed it for your family from afar. There's no doubt.
100%, right? A family
Yeah,
that stays together stays together.
All right, our last one here, and you touched on it moments ago, going big picture. You talked about the current landscape of college athletics, specifically college football. It's going to be the first year of a 12-team playoff. NIL is more omnipresent than ever before, and now revenue sharing is on the horizon. Just where do you see college football as we're almost exactly 9 weeks away from the full start of the 2024 season? Where do you see the health of the sport as we see the playoff grow to 12 teams, and just kind of maybe how do you see some of these other dynamics shaking out?
Well, first of all, I think college football is in a great place. it's in a very healthy state, as we can attest to when you talk about the revenue that's being generated, the TV money that's out there right now. I am hopeful, which I see it, right? I see it coming, that we get to have more direction when we talk about revenue sharing, when we talk about NIL, because I just believe that's where we got to go. And everybody would agree that we just need rails. We just need clear direction. And I think we're moving in that way. I think that our players, the student athletes who perform out on the field, they deserve revenue sharing, and that's coming for them. I just want to make sure, and we as coaches, we want to make sure that at the end of the day, 15, 20 years from now, that these players are in a position to continue to reap benefits from what they get from revenue sharing. That revenue sharing does not make more problems for them, right? That whatever monies that they accumulate, that they get, that we have a plan for them to be successful with it, and that we educate. We do it here at Kansas State, that we educate them financially so that they make the right decisions. Because I know that if I would have had an opportunity to come upon a lot of money back in my days, I wouldn't have had a lot of education. I wouldn't have had a lot of understanding as to how to plan carefully for the future. And that's my big deal, is that we make sure we take care of them in terms of educating them. And I know the thought process would be, well, we're giving them money, they just got to figure it out. Well, that's not the right thing to do, right? We don't do that with our kids. We tell our kids, hey man, clean that room up, pick your shoes up. We direct them, and eventually they clean the room up themselves. Eventually they do it themselves. But at this stage, in my opinion, at this stage in their lives, at this stage in the programs, we just got to do a good job of making sure that we are laying it out in such a way that it's a good thing and it doesn't end up being a hindrance in their lives.
Coach, this has been an awesome visit. We've had some great podcasts, I think, here on the Our Coaching Network since I joined about a year ago. We haven't had any better than this one. A lot of wisdom and a lot of different fronts, a lot of passion to hear about your work with bone marrow and cancer research there in that regard. Van Malone, Kansas State assistant head coach.
I need a signed document. I need you to sign that, print it off, so I can show it to my wife, right?
Okay.
Because right there, you said wisdom. You said he's a great guy. You said that he doesn't need to cut the grass anymore. You said,
yeah, I did. Yeah. Well, Pat might know a thing or two about contracts. We'll leave it open-ended, and maybe he can add some verbiage in there. And good luck to you getting her to sign it, because I don't think I could get my wife to sign that. But Coach, an awesome visit. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us here.
Great to be here.
All right. Once again, everyone, he's Van Malone, Kansas State assistant head coach. I'm John Brice, FootballScoop.com. This has been our latest edition of the Our Coaching Network Football Podcast.